big flames over there.
Horrible memories here. At the time, the 2017 Tubbs fire that ravaged Napa and Sonoma counties was the most destructive wildfire in state history. About 6,000 buildings were burned to the ground and more than 20 people were killed. It took 4 months to contain every inch of that fire that spanned some 36,000 acres.
And we're coming up on the 5th year since the Tubbs fire erupted on a hot and windy night. And survivors we spoke with, of course, they're still reeling from the past and they're still living with the trauma. But somehow the pain is giving way to some comfort. Cornfor's Ella Sogomonian is in studio with more on that. Ella?
Well, I'll never forget walking across that hot earth and watching people salvage what little is left. And although many are still struggling to cope with that loss all these years later, there's a very strong bond and sense of camaraderie that has grown in the North Bay, where survivors stayed to rebuild. Tens of thousands of people woke up to the sounds of sirens and crackling flames in the early morning hours on October 8th, 2017. It was a dark, uncomfortably warm night, met with ferocious winds that pushed flames across Sonoma and Napa counties. People were forced to abandon their homes and the lives they knew within minutes.
This is probably the most catastrophic event I've ever been through in my life, and I think it'll leave a mark on the community and myself for years to come.
5 years later, that sentiment holds true. We met Monica Bravo just days after her Fountain Grove home was one of thousands of buildings leveled by what was later dubbed the Tubbs fire. She says people are still trying to get through the trauma together.
It's still happening 5 years later. Right? And then now we get together every other week and do breath work. So it's like everybody gets together, we connect, we release, but we're really connected.
Bravo took her kids out to ice cream to kick off the weekend and enjoy some sunshine. But even then, they couldn't help but be conscious of the dry heat.
And they're like, well, let's just pray that it rains.
I can actually feel that heat, Kyle.
Many first responders learned that their own homes were consumed by the flames while they worked to protect other people's property. Paul Lowenthal with the Santa Rosa Fire Department was one of them.
It was an incredible sight to see how many people were focused, not just on their own situation, but focused on making sure that they were continuing to respond to the needs of the community.
A lot of people packed up and left the area altogether, but others stayed back to rebuild and bond with other survivors. That ended up growing into a powerful sense of camaraderie.
But knowing that my community gave me so much, I wanted to give back.
And Lowenthal says that Santa Rosa is now better positioned to confront a disaster today because of lessons learned in the Tubbs fire.
There's just been a tremendous amount of improvements that have been made here locally to make cities like Santa Rosa better prepared again for wildfires.
And next Saturday, the city of Santa Rosa and Sonoma County will be hosting a 5-year event over at Coffee Park at 10 a.m. The mayor, board of supervisors, Cal OES director, FEMA, and Congressman Jared Huffman, as well as Senator Mike McGuire, I should say, will all be there and joining the community. In the studio, Ella Sogomonian, KRON 4 News.